Hi, and thanks for watching 21 Top Tips to Keep You in Shape During the Lockdown, Part 1. My name is Tom Blackman. I'm a performance nutritionist and the author of Target Lean. If you have any questions after the webinar, if you're watching it back on the replay, then please feel free to shoot me an email at tom@bkmnutrition.com. And if you want to see any more of my content, you can go over to Instagram, tomblackman_nutrition, or go to my website, bkmnutrition.com. Thanks for listening and enjoy the webinar.
So today's webinar is the top 21 top tips to stay in shape during the lockdown period. Now, this might have the appearance it's going to be all about workouts and doing burpees and stuff like that. But actually what the idea is, it's about staying in shape as mentally and physically. So hopefully everyone can see that, that slide, the first slide. So today is going to be part 1. There's 7 top tips I'm going to cover today, and then we'll go to part 2 next week and part 3 afterwards. The reason I've not done 21 top tips in one webinar is that'd be so much stuff to cover, and I've got some fairly decent things to talk about. I think 7 is about right to get started with, and at the end there's going to be a little bit of homework for stuff that you to take away and do to change this week, and then hopefully come back next week and you'll have lots of cool things to say that you've done. So let's get started. Let's get going there. Right, so if you don't know who I am, my name is Tom Blackman. I'm a performance nutritionist. I'm the author as well of Target Lean, which is the book that's literally just about to come out within the next week or so. It's been delayed due to coronavirus and a few other things, but it is actually about to come out, which is awesome. I'm a former champion bodybuilder, and I own a gym in Bristol called Ministry of Fitness. And what I do for a living is either run the gym and also advise people on nutrition and training, and coach them on habit building and routine. So the reason for the webinar today is that lockdown has restricted our freedom. So we are now not so much under a police state, but we're in a position where we have our freedom cut out. We've got to stay at home. And this is something that none of us have, because this sort of thing was only really around in the wartime, and even then people were allowed to go out and exercise and stuff like that. So this situation is completely new. No one has been in this situation before, so there's no planning for it. Nobody knows what to do. It's disrupted our lives massively. Now, obviously, some of us might become ill, which is obviously very bad. And I think most of us know someone now who has had coronavirus. I have a few friends who've had it. One of my friends is seriously ill in hospital. So it is a serious thing, and it's not just lockdown for something to do. You know, this is to protect us. So, but as we're bearing that in mind, we've still got to think about how we're going to get through it ourselves, because we might not all catch the virus, but we've all got to cope with the fallout in terms of what the mental impact and the physical impact of being restrained from our freedom and not being able to go to work and not being able to talk to our friends face to face, that sort of thing. So a lot of people are facing challenges that they've never ever considered before, and they're generally unprepared for this huge change in their life. So that's the reason for the webinar, is to give people ideas about how to cope being in isolation, being under lock and key, I suppose. And the worst thing is, we don't know when it's going to end, because no one knows how long the virus is going to happen. Some people are saying September, August, whatever. We don't know. That's the thing. I've got a business which is closed indefinitely. I don't know when it's going to open, and you know, that's a massive strain on my end, mental capacity. So how can I help? Well, I develop nutrition strategies. This is generally changes in their work patterns, in their family life, in their structure of their day, that sort of thing. And it's all based around routine and habit building, and basically giving them the correct routines to excel in life. So I've done this lots of times before in the past, hundreds, thousands, whatever, and I've just adapted what I've taught people in the past when they've been in total freedom to my clients at the moment to help cope with this lockdown period. I've literally wrote the book on habit building and fat loss and keeping a good diet and good routines in place. So I do know a little bit about it. And as I said before, this webinar is going to cover how to stay in shape, both physically, but also mentally, because it's no good coming out of lockdown or nice and lean if you're a twitching nervous wreck at the end of it. So it's all physically and mentally. And I've got my monster to keep me going today. So I hope you've got a drink there. No, you won't need a pen and paper for any of this. The slides will be available afterwards. I'm going to do a little ebook as well. So all that will be available afterwards, and there'll be a replay of this webinar. So you don't need a pen and paper just at the moment. You'll be able to watch it back over and over again. What I would prefer is just you to watch, take in the information, and get a good idea about things you can do. And it's only going to be 7 today, so you'll get a chance to have a think about it. So what the format is going to be is I'm going to put up a slide which is the problem that people are facing, and then I'll put up the solution, including the top tips. So we're going to go through 7 problems people are facing, and then why they're problems, and then 7 solutions as to a possible way out of it. Now, some of these won't be relevant to you personally, but everybody I spoke to has come across one of the 21 problems at least. So at least one of these things will help you out. So one of the big ones is hedonic eating and snacking. Now, what's that? So hedonic eating is you have hedonic hunger and you also have real hunger. And now what hedonic hunger is that when you are just bored or your mind is wandering, and you'll be walking through your office or your home and you go, ooh, donut. And immediately you don't really want a donut. You're not really hungry for a donut. Excuse me. You weren't searching for a donut, but all of a sudden, ooh, a donut's there. And you get this trigger in your brain, which is triggered by dopamine, which is a chemical in your brain, which says, donuts are nice. We could probably eat one of those. And so what you do, if you have no control over your hunger, you eat the donut. And that's what's called hedonic eating. And we do it all the time. Crisps, people offering around crisps or sweets or whatever. Oh yeah, I wasn't actually hungry, but I'll have one. Now this situation is actually more prevalent when we're at home and we're under lockdown, because we've got no escape from those sorts of things. They're all around us. We generally keep our food at home, so we know we have food in our cupboards, and generally this thing is subconscious. So we will not think about, oh, I'll have a biscuit, or I'll have this, I'll have that. So you just eat it regardless. And because it's not a big meal, you don't recognize it as being eating, and you can go all the way through the day having these little bits of food and not registering it. So you might be sticking to your diet, but at the same time you might be sabotaging your diet by having these extra snacks. And hedonic eating is something I work on with clients a lot. So these little snacks that you've had, they add up to these big changes. And one of the things I hear a lot from people is saying, well, I don't eat a lot. I don't know why I'm gaining weight. And you look at what their habits are, everything else, they tend to be snacking on things. They sit down in the evening, snack on things. They take biscuits here and there. That's the thing that upsets their diet. It's not it's not actually the overeating of big meals. Generally, it is the snacking of things. So how do we combat hedonic eating? How can we do that at home? So one thing we can do is remove high calorie snacks from easy view. Now, hopefully you might be able to see, maybe you'll be able to see, maybe I'll get the camera out 2 seconds, you might be able to see this. But over in my sort of sideboard over there, I've actually got 2 fruit bowls out. Now, the reason I have a fruit bowl out on my sorry for the camera movement there. The reason I have a fruit bowl out on my side is if I'm walking around my house and I'm a little bit peckish, I would prefer to go to fruit as a snack rather than chocolate. And I do have chocolate in my house as well, but I'll come on to where that is in a minute. So I've got this the fruit bowl snacks, and they're in easy access. So if I do have an urge to snack on something, it's actually within my walkway and it's right there, a snack that I can have, which actually is going to be very low on the calorie scale. So a banana is about 80 calories, give or take. An apple is about 80, 90 calories. That's not a lot of calories, in the grand scheme of things. Whereas a chocolate bar, same sort of size as a banana, 230 calories, 290 calories. So you're talking about a real impact there on your diet, whereas a banana or an apple or something like that would fill you up for a bit longer and give you a sense that you've eaten something nice and sweet as well. So I replace, so if you've got in your house a load of snacks that are on easy access, put them away in the cupboards, make it hard for you to reach them. You have to actually go into a cupboard, you have to search around for it, you have to go to the top shelf, that sort of thing. So it makes it harder to get them, and actually the fruit bowl is easier to get. So well, I'll have that instead, because as humans, we generally go for the path of least resistance. If we are peckish and snackish, and we're not really bothered about what we have, a bit of fruit, and you know that you can have that fruit and be safe, in inverted commas. So we want food that's lower calorie and more filling in direct eye line of the cupboard or the fridge. So when you open your fridge as well, the first thing you see is probably going to be the thing you're going to snack on if you're just if you're just hungry, you just want something to eat. So on my eye line of my fridge, I'll have my pre-prepared meals, and I'll come into that in a minute. My pre-prepared meals will have low calorie and it is an acceptable snack. But lower down will be things like the chocolate, the beers up here, so I have to look up to see it, that sort of thing. So make sure that things that are low calorie acceptable snacks are right in your eye line, easy to access. Okay, so that's number one, remove high calorie snacks from easy view. And one of the things I talk about in my practice is reducing friction for good habits and increasing friction for bad habits. So we want to make bad habits much harder to do, and we want to make good habits much easier to do. So always think about, how can I make this thing I want to do easier? And this thing I don't like doing, but I end up doing it all the time. How can I make that harder? You know, if you've got to go through 5 doors to get to a donut, but if you're tired and whatever, you might want to go through just the one door. So just think about that. Okay, so the second issue that a lot of people are facing is that they have low productivity when working from home. So although working from home is a thing that a lot of people do, people who now are used to work in an office or used to work at a desk somewhere in an office or away from their home, if they're not been furloughed, then they're going to be at home trying to work from home. Now, if you haven't got an environment set up for working from home, this is going to be really, really difficult. So the idea is we want to get a place that we can work from home, which enhances productivity. But most people don't have that, and so being at home blurs their boundaries. So, for example, most people, if they're working from home, try and work on their sofa or work watching the TV or work in their bedroom or something like that. And this isn't obviously a defined office space. So what happens is that work, rest, and play all happen in the same location. So you don't really think, well, I'm going to my bedroom to work, or I'm going to sit on the sofa to work, because you also do other things when you sat on the sofa and other things when you're in bed, and that's not an innuendo. So what happens is it becomes hard to switch between a family mindset and a work mindset, or a rest mindset, or whatever you want to do. You know, say for example, if you took your laptop to the gym and went and sat down in the middle of the gym and started trying to work, you probably wouldn't get a good day's work done, because you're blurring the boundaries as to what you're supposed to be doing in that situation. Also got to think about, we're already in a stressful environment from confinement to our houses. So having to try and work at home, especially if you've got kids running around, and I had Jacob all day today prepping for this webinar. So if there's some spelling mistakes, that's why. He was running about all day while I was trying to do the webinar, and I had to play with him and do the work and everything else. So I had that same situation today, and I only just got the webinar finished just before we started. I had to drop Jacob at his mum's and then come back, race back across Bristol to get the webinar started. So that's why we're a little bit late, so sorry about that. So all these 4 things contribute to not getting a lot of work done. So how can we combat that? Well, we can use something called anchoring. Now, what anchoring is it's exactly how it sounds. Is you drop an anchor where in an environment you want to stay in. So the brain associates locations with activities. Now, if you don't get what I mean, remember what I talked about with the gym. You go and sit in the gym with a laptop, it would feel unusual to you if you trained a lot. So if you went and sat in the gym in your workout clothes and started trying to do your accounts, it wouldn't feel like the right place to be. It wouldn't feel like that's the right place to do that job. But however, if you did that over and over again, it probably would start to feel like it was the right place to do that job, because you're doing it repetitively. So multiple activities can send confusing messages. So say, for example, you did go and sit in the gym and do your accounts all day long and do all your emails and stuff like that. and then you decided you want to go and train, well, you might not be able to get into your training mindset as well, because you're still in maybe the work mindset, because you've associated two activities with the same location. And this is what happens at home. So I'm at home now. I'm sat at my desk at home. I've got my whiteboard in front of me, which you can't see. I've got my desk set up with all my notes and stuff like that. And I only sit at this desk to do work. I don't eat at this desk. I don't play with Jacob at this desk. I don't watch TV from this desk. I only sit here to do work. So this is my work environment, which is only about 2 meters square in my house. And then I have my sofa over here, which is where I watch TV, where I do some snacking. I have my kitchen where I obviously prepare food, and obviously my bedroom where nothing happens because I just sleep in there. So I have predefined areas where I do certain activities, and it helps me to have that so I can switch. Now, coming on to this, so I used to have clients who used to eat in bed or watch TV in bed. That can disrupt your sleep patterns. Again, thinking about what you're doing when you're going to bed. Now, I'm not going to smut up the webinar, but there's only two things you should probably be doing in bed, and one of them is sleeping. And I don't have a TV in my room. I don't eat in bed. I don't do anything in bed apart from just sleeping and maybe the other thing. But a few clients I've worked with and this is something that a lot of people do. They have because they have big double beds or king size beds. They have all the family get in and they watch a movie or whatever, and they have some snacks and everything. It's a really nice thing to do for your family. However, if you're doing that regular, you're going to send the signals that, well, what am I doing when I'm going to bed? Am I going to watch TV? Am I going to eat? Or am I going to sleep? And it disrupts your patterns. It disrupts your anchors as to what you're supposed to be doing at that location. So following on from this, I've just explained, I only eat at my workstation. I sit down here, I do my work. If I want to eat, I'll move over somewhere else and eat my food, and then I'll come back to my work. So what you're setting up is setting up clear boundaries as to what you're doing in certain locations. Now, why this is helpful is it allows you to think about, right, well, I'm in this location, so my mind is focused on this thing that I'm doing at this location. Same as if you went to work, you go into work, when you're sat at your desk, you're there to work, you're there to do your daily job. If you're getting in your car, driving somewhere, you might be on the road as a salesman, you're probably driving to do a job. So you know what your activity is in that situation. You go to the gym to train, you're training in that situation. And a lot of people I work with, I say, turn your phone off, don't take work calls, change your clothes when you go to those locations, because you want to get out of the mindset of being in work and change to the mindset of going to the gym. So I do this when I'm at home, when I'm working. So at the moment, I'm sat here in my Superman top, because that's what I've been wearing today. Webinars are slightly informal for me. If I was sat here working on my client proposals and stuff like that, I'd have a polo shirt on, which is my BKM nutrition shirt on. If I was working on gym stuff, I'd have a gym with a Ministry of Fitness thing on to remind me I'm there to work on the gym or my nutrition stuff. And it sets your mindset quite nicely, and it sets up for another thing I'm going to talk about in a minute, that you're there to do work for that particular business or that particular activity. Okay. Another thing you can do here, something I've done with clients as well, is that when they have problems snacking, when they sit on the sofa, what I say to them as well, if you're going to sit down and snack, sit on this side of the sofa that you don't normally sit on. So most people in families and everything else will have a space that they sit on. So that's dad's seat, that's mum's seat, that's where the dog sits, etc., etc. If you want to curtail your snacking and make it unusual to snack in a certain spot, so in your regular seat where you watch TV, what I would do is, if you're going to have a snack, I would swap seats with your partner. If you live on your own, obviously you've got the choice of seats. But I always, if I sit down to snack, I'll sit on the other side of the sofa. And then when I'm going to just sit down and watch TV, I'll sit on the other side of the sofa. And this sounds stupid and it's not going to work and it's a bit woo-woo, but it really does work, because it sets your mindset, right, I'm here to snack, I finish my snack, I move, right, I'm here to watch TV and relax. So you can actually get those mindset changes just by moving. And I've done this with clients, it does work. So take into account what you're doing at certain locations. If you have a thing you want to do, which you want to reduce, do that at a certain location. And then the other locations is things you want to do, other things. Okay. So the problem number 3, and it follows on from what I've just been talking about. And this is something called mindless eating. Now, there's an excellent book that you can read called Mindless Eating by Brian Wansink. just as a caveat here, they did find that he doctored some of his studies to make them more sexy for his book, but a lot of the stuff is actually a thing. It does work, so take that with a bit of pinch of salt. Not all of it is fact, not all of it is true, but a lot of the stuff he did has been used and it is effective. And I use a lot of the techniques with my clients. So Mindless Eating, a very good book to read, to read or listen to on Audible. So what's the problem with mindless eating? Well, snacking is a massive black hole for calories. You know, if we open a box, so for me, Pringles is a thing. I can sit and eat a tub of Pringles, not a problem. I'll just go through the whole tub of Pringles without stopping because I just love Pringles. Same with Haribo, popcorn at the cinema, that sort of thing. You just eat and eat and eat and eat because there's so much of it. You just sit there just picking away at it. Normally you're watching TV or something like that. So what you're doing is you're subconsciously eating, and it's really easy to sit and eat for hours watching TV, eating through ice cream, that sort of thing. You know, all these things are really easy to do when you're distracted by something else. So if you're watching the TV, and most people, if they're snacking, will have a few snacks with them, and then make especially now in the coronavirus time, is that sitting down watching TV is probably one of the only respites that we've got. You know, we can't go to the cinema or anything. So we just sit down, get a beer, get some snacks, and just watch TV with our partners or by ourselves or whatever. And the problem with this is that there's no control of your portions. So what will happen is that you'll just sit there with a massive bag of Haribo or crisps or popcorn or whatever, whatever you've got, like Pringles for me. And you'll just eat the box and the packet because all you're seeing is the one thing. So the one Pringle, eat, one Pringle, eat. Your brain doesn't register you've eaten 40 Pringles. Your brain just registers the one Pringle, the one Haribo, the one bit of popcorn. So it registers a very small amount of food coming in. And because you're just grazing, the stomach turns over, exits it, stomach turns over, exits it. So you don't actually get a full feeling. It just processes all the food through. And generally you'll just eat until the box or the packet runs out, and you register the one piece at a time. So here's the problem. It's a massive black hole which just food can just delve into. Remember I said before that a lot of the clients I work with, they say they don't eat a lot, but they're snacking a lot, and that's what takes them over. That's what makes them gain weight. So this is a real thing which we've got to get under control, especially now we're sat at home with a lot of time on our hands and potentially a lot of snacking time. So how do we do this? There's a really simple thing you can do for this, and it's called break cues. Now, what we do with break cues is that we allow ourselves to see how much food we're having. So if you just get a tub of Pringles, and actually I have got a tub of Pringles, so I'll show you this. So I probably should have prepped that first, yeah? So I'll remember that for the next webinar. Okay, so you look at the tub of Pringles, it doesn't look like, you can't see how much food is in it for a start. There's no clear on the side, there's no see how much you've actually eaten. So what you do is you just pick out a Pringle at a time, and mine's half empty because I've done my break cues. So you just put your hand in and take up one Pringle. Now, what we do for break cues is we get a bowl and we actually pour the Pringles. I know I'm not going to do it because I'll start eating them, but we pour the Pringles in and give ourselves a serving of crisps. Rather than just sitting down eating the tub, we get ourselves a serving of crisps. Now, what that does is it first of all makes us aware of how much snack we're having. So when we pour it into a bowl, we can see that, your eyes registered that you've had a certain amount of snack. Now, when you sit down and start eating that, you can see the amount going down. Whereas with a packet, if you have a whole packet, you won't see it going down because the packet is, and they design packets this way that you can't see how much is left, and you'll just get to the end and go, oh, it's run out. So that is your stop cue. The stop cue is, it's run out. So what we're trying to do is create a natural stop or an artificial, I should say, stop cue, which is the end of the bowl. So provided you don't pour the whole tub of Haribos or the whole tub of Pringles into a bowl, you'll actually be reducing how much you eat. So we pour the small serving into a bowl, and then we put the packet, once we've done that, back in the cupboard so that we can't get at it again, because there's no point doing that if you put the packet at the side of the sofa, because you just pick the packet up and pour it in again. So there has to be a distance. You have to think about getting up to go to get to more. So you eat the snack in your designated location. Remember, I talked about anchoring yourself to a snack location in your house. So you eat your snack at designated location, and then what happens is when you've finished, you'll go, oh, I've finished. And then what happens then is your brain has to register you've stopped eating, and it will start to register, am I full or not? Normally, if you put yourself a decent bit of snacking in there, there's a couple of things that you'll have done here. You will have, first of all, satisfied yourself that you've had a little treat. And that gives you this little bit of dopamine kick that you've had something nice and something chocolatey or something crispy or whatever your thing is. So you'll have satisfied that need or that want to have something snacky or something nice and tasty. And then hopefully, if you've given yourself a decent amount of snack here, you'll be satisfied and you won't need any more. You will have satisfied that need to have that food. Because it's a snack, you probably weren't hungry anyway, but you've given yourself a little bit of hedonic eating there. But you've regulated it, you've self-regulated. So you've put a portion out to have, you reduce the amount of calories you can have. And this technique does work brilliantly. I've used it for myself for years and years now, because I love Pringles and I will not stop eating them. And it's hard to say to people, oh, just stop eating. It's easy. Just stop eating. It doesn't happen, because people still buy the food that they want to snack on. So if you're gonna buy the food you want to snack on, have a treat, put it into a bowl. Okay, right, let's move on. So the next thing, a lack of focus and a burnout for work. So a lot of us are working from home. Some of us have been furloughed, but we might be doing other jobs when we're at home, which aren't work related. They might be like, stuff you want to do in the house or getting your accounts up together, whatever. The problem is that working from home can lead to burnout. And the reason for this is that, well, if you've got kids, which a lot of us do have kids, it's difficult to focus with them running about. You're always trying to help stop them banging, stop them shouting at each other, stop them fighting, killing each other. And with confinement, there's no option to nip out for a break. So you can't just go, oh, do you know what? I've had enough of this. I'm just going to nip out to the coffee shop for a bit, or I'm just going to nip out with Dave for a pint because I'm just getting a bit stressed. That sort of thing isn't available at the moment. You've got your 1 hours, your one exercise session daily, which you can go out and do. Also, because you're at home, you're more aware of the household jobs that need doing. So even if you might be sat at your desk doing work, you're aware that the washing needs to be put on, or you're aware that whatever needs to be done, and now that you're in the house, there's that cue that you should be doing it because you're at home. So I remember thinking about the anchoring locations and everything else. So the household jobs can seem endless. So you've got all these things you need to do at home. Maybe your wife or your husband is moaning at you about, oh, you said you were going to do this job. Now this is a perfect opportunity because you're at home. If you're having to work from home, and people who you live with don't understand the concept of having to work at home, they might not think that you actually got anything to do. So there's lots of factors that come into there which can make you sort of lose focus, burn out, and basically not get a lot done. So the easier option is just to sit on the sofa and binge watch Tiger King like I did the other night until 1 a.m. and eat chocolate. And that's exactly what I did. I got a massive bar of chocolate, sat and watched Tiger King for about, I don't know, I think 4 episodes, and it was awesome. But yeah, the next day I paid for that because I was absolutely shattered. So the option is, if it starts to burn out in your mind, you go for the easy option. Remember, as humans, we go for the path of least resistance. And we just stop and go, right, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to sit down, have a beer, have some snacks, and eat myself into a coma. So we don't want to be doing that, obviously. So what's the solution? How can we focus our minds while we're at home and make sure we're doing stuff and being productive? So you might have heard of something called the Pomodoro Technique. And the Pomodoro Technique, you can actually buy little timers and stuff for it, but you don't need to. You can just set an alarm on your phone or whatever. It's useful for doing work, but also there's also something we'll come on to in a minute where I'll talk about using it for exercise. So the Pomodoro Technique is basically you set yourself 20 or 25 minutes. It's one of those two, depending who you talk to, of focused work. So phones off, TV off, in a quiet room, maybe headphones on so you don't get disturbed, and you literally just crack on with something for 20 minutes. Now that's the pure work application, but what we can do, we can adapt it to working from home applications. So we can say, right, I'm going to do household jobs for 20 minutes. I'm going to set my alarm on my watch, 20 minutes, I'm going to get as much done as I can in the house. 20 minutes, I'm going to go and play with the kids for 20 minutes. 20 minutes, I'm going to you know, clean the bathroom, whatever you want to do and focus on for those 20 minutes. You just set yourself an alarm on your phone, and you just smash through and just, I don't want to be disturbed. I'm going to go and reorganize the garage for 20 minutes, whatever, you know. So you focus on this 20-minute block. And because you're doing that, because you're focusing on the block, what happens then is that you can really get into it and get a lot of stuff done, because you know you've only got 20 minutes to do it. And also after that, you need to have a break. So it's really important, once you've had your 20-25 minutes of this focused activity that you're doing, the alarm goes off, you go, right, that's it, break, down tools. And then what you do is you go off, look at your social media, play with the kids, have a drink with your wife, whatever, you know, all these things. Make sure you break what you're doing and go and do something completely different, which is more relaxing. So you give yourself sort of 10-15 minutes or so, because most of us are now working from home, at home all day. We can probably apportion a couple more minutes and do a more relaxing activity, whatever. The advantage of this is it gives you a natural break in your day. So it gives you, right, I'm doing work for this, and I'm going to play with the kids. And I'm doing work from this, I'm going to do my home workout. So it allows you to set up your natural work times or activity times where you're doing things that are productive, and then have a mental break. It mentally resets you. So you go, right, I'm everything on that for 20 minutes. Alarm goes off. Okay, good. I've got loads of stuff done. I'm going to go and play with the kids for 20 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever, or I'm going to have my food or whatever. So you remove yourself from the situation. Mentally, you can then refocus and have a think about what you're going to do for the next 25 minutes of deep work, and then come back and do it and smash it. So you will actually get a lot more done. Although it seems like you're taking a lot of breaks in the day, you will actually get a lot more done, because you'll be super focused, relaxed, super focused, relaxed, and the mind will thank you for that. So then you don't lose your focus through the day when you're trying to get stuff done. Okay, the next problem is the loss of focus for home workouts. Now, when all this happened, this lockdown happened, things like Amazon and eBay were overrun with people trying to buy all their stuff that they're going to need for their home workouts. And if you look on eBay and that now, you can see like barbells going for like stupid money, kettlebells going for stupid money, because people wanted to do, they knew that gyms were shut. Obviously, I've got a gym, and I was inundated with people who apparently knew me, who wanted to rent or borrow equipment from me because I wasn't using it, or the gym didn't need it, which was a nice thing to say. So that, yeah, people wanted to get their home workouts, and now that they're sort of 2 weeks in, they're losing focus in the home workouts, because obviously, you know, being at home is not the gym. They haven't got the equipment they had in all these commercial gyms. They're probably doing the same stuff over and over again, so they're getting bored. It's hard to keep up the intensity for an hour at home, because think about all the things we talked about just now, all the things that are distracting you, all the things that are getting in your way. So trying to keep up the intensity for an hour's workout, which is what you would normally do if you go to a gym, is difficult. There doesn't seem to be any challenge that you're doing, because the workout's not as good as it should be. And then obviously the trappings of the home environment. So you've got your fridge, your TV, you know, your kids, nice sunny day outside, you might just want to sit down. So how can we regain focus for our home workouts, and actually get something productive out of it? Okay, so what we do is we swap our hours workout and we change it for 3 20-minute workouts. Now, this might seem counterproductive, and you say, well, actually, what am I going to get out of 20 minutes workout? Now, I have done another webinar, which I'll talk about in a second, which was about maximizing your home workout. So I'm just going to go into an overview here. So what we do is, because we're doing 20 minutes, and this is that Pomodoro technique again coming in, super focus on 20 minutes. So we're reducing the boredom from these repetitive exercises, because if you're doing it for 20 minutes, it's probably not going to get repetitive. You're not going to be doing like 20 sets of burpees or whatever. It allows you to set time challenges. So as many whatever you can do in 5 minutes, as many whatever you can do in 1 minute. So it allows you to and then for 20 minutes, because you can do a HIIT workout in 20 minutes, it starts to bring that intensity back in by setting yourself these challenges. So it focuses your work into a concentrated time. So you can say, right, no one talk to me, I'm doing my workout for 20 minutes, you know, so you can think, right, from now, I'm going to see what I can get for 20 minutes. It's a lot harder to try and do that for an hour at home by yourself. And when you're in the gym, it's more of a social aspect of it, and it's more like I'm talking to people while I'm in between sets and everything else. So there's more social aspect there. When you're at home, potentially on your own, there's no social aspect there. So you've got to think about what you're doing a bit more. 20 minutes reduces potential distractions and then a lower output. And also what it does, it breaks up the day nicely. So say, for example, you get up and you do your 20 minutes workout before breakfast, and you do your bit of deep work, you do your playing with the kids, whatever, watching TV, then you go back for another workout, another 20-minute workout, smash that, a few more meals, blah, 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 and then you have another 20-minute, maybe evening jog or whatever, walk around the block or whatever, you go for your evening walk or your hours walk outside. So you can break up the day with these 20-minute blasts of exercise, and it might help combat this boredom that you've got of just sat around doing nothing. Because if you got, right, I'm going to do my home workout now, you've done it for like 40 minutes or however long you get bored of it for, and it's, oh, what do I do for the rest of the day? Because you can't train twice, can you? That's the mentality when you're training in a commercial gym. You train once per day and that's it. Okay, so, and also if the kids are exercising with you, because a lot of people are doing that, then their attention span's about 20, 25 minutes. So allow you to work out with your kids at least once a day and get them doing something as well. Okay, so the other problem people have got, and I've talked about obviously snacking beforehand, but there's this constant snacking and fast food eating. So a lot of people are eating more snacks and stuff, and I've talked about the other things we can do to counteract that. And a lot of people are ordering takeaways if they're delivering, or they're getting things like pizzas and stuff in order for quick cooking. Now, the reason they're doing this is because, well, inherently we're lazy as a species. We don't want to be cooking loads of food unless cooking food is your thing. You like cooking loads of food, and preparing meals can be time consuming. So if you've got to prepare every single meal every day, that quickly can become a bit monotonous. And what you might want to remember is that as a UK as a whole, that a lot of our about 25%, I think, of our meals are actually consumed away from the home. So I think it might be even higher than that. And 25% was the figure I looked at, but it might even be higher than that in some areas. Like 50% of the meals are consumed away from the home, not prepared at home. Now all of a sudden we've got to prepare every single meal at home. Now that's tough. That's tough to change your mindset into it. And if you're already stressed out, that's going to add even more stress to your day. It's, oh, I've got to cook another blooming meal. What do I have? What do I have just now? Oh, well, I don't want to have that again because that's the same meal. What can I have? And what you do is you start thinking about what you're going to eat. And then what you do is you think, do you know what? I can't bother to do that. I'm just going to order a takeaway, or I'm just going to put a pizza in, or I'm going to have some chocolate instead. So rather than cook from scratch, which mentally in your brain is a long process to go through, it's 20 minutes to cook something from scratch at least. Even maybe scrambled eggs is probably 10 minutes, but still that's a 10-minute time. And you much rather just go, I can't bother with that. I'll probably sit on the sofa, wait for the pizza to come. So, and instead, the UK gets 25 at least of its food from eating out. So we're not used to cooking all our foods ourselves. And the longer you think about what you're going to eat and what you're going to prepare and everything else, the more it becomes a bit of a hill to climb. You go, do you know what? I'll just have some chocolate instead. I'll go for the quick option. So that's when the snacking or the takeaway option comes in. And so the solution for this is sort of a bodybuilding type thing, is bulk meal prep. Now, when I'm talking about bulk meal prep, I'm not talking about chicken and rice and broccoli in like 6 Tupperwares and then a photograph of Instagram. But what bulk meal prep does is, if you can find meals that you like to eat. So I like things like spaghetti bolognese, chicken curry, chili. I also cook up a lot of things like chicken sausages, so I can reheat them later on for sandwiches, that sort of thing. If you can buy food that's really easy to bulk prep and just make a load of meals up and stick them in some Tupperware or whatever, all you have to do is you don't have to think about your meal. You just go to the fridge and you go, oh, okay, I'll just have that. And you just reheat your bolognese or whatever else. And that's what I do generally for all my meals. Is I'll have a load of things in the fridge that I can just reheat, but I've cooked before for like proper meals, and then just put the excess in the fridge. And it reduces that distractive time. So if you've got to think about what I'm going to make and what I'm going to cook, the mind starts going, well, what's the easier option? Now, if the easier option is, well, that thing I cooked the other day, that's 3 minutes in the microwave. Okay, that'll do. Removes that thinking about what you're going to eat completely. Just go, oh, that's it. I like that meal anyway, so I'll just have that. I'll reheat that. So again, remember I talked about reducing friction, which is something I talk about with my clients. So we're reducing the friction to preparing meals over going to snacks. So if the snack option is a chocolate bar, whatever else, but the meal option is 3 minutes in the microwave, then that's a really easy option to do. You've got to think about as well, big cooks, so bulk cooks, take about the same time as a single meal cook. If you're cooking a bolognese for one, you might as well cook a bolognese for 5 and then put the rest into a Tupperware. You might as well do that and then bulk prep it and cook it, and then you've got loads left. The actual cooking time is not a lot longer. The prep time might be slightly longer, but for me, what I do is I go and get a load of like already chopped onions, already chopped peppers from Asda, just tip them into a pan and just put some sauce in it, and it's done in a very easy way to do it. And there is some videos on doing this. If you go through my Instagram, you can see some videos I've done of bulk prepping food, so they are there somewhere. And what this does, it reduces stress and meal plan. So what you do is you operate a rolling prep. So what you would do is say Monday, you might prep say 5 meals of spaghetti bolognese. Come to Wednesday, you might bulk prep 5 meals of chili, and then you come to like Saturday, you might bulk prep 5 meals of tikka masala or something like that. That's a typical week for me, as I'll cook big cooks like 3 times a week. But then what happens is those meals actually stagger through the week. So you've got a choice of, by the end you get to like Thursday, Friday, you've got a choice of like spaghetti or chili, and then you've got other things as well. And if you put some in the freezer as well, you can get them out and defrost it. So there's loads of options there. You don't have to eat the same thing all the time, which is what, excuse me, when people think about bulk prepping, they normally think about the bodybuilder thing about, well, I'm just going to get loads of chicken and rice and that's my bulk prep. You think about meals you like, you calculate the calories per meal. And then so if I put that and split it over 5, it's that many calories per meal. So you would know how many calories in that meal. And if you're on top of your like MyFitnessPal or whatever, you can just put that in as a set meal, and you know you've had those calories. So it allows you to stay to your diet, to your macros, whatever, without thinking, oh, I've got to be Spartan. So rolling bulk prep, that's the way to do it, of meals that you like. And I'm a big proponent with my clients of eating food that you like. I'm not someone who's, oh, you've got to eat chicken and rice because that's the law and I'm the coach. Okay, so let's think about one of the last. I think we're on to this might be number 7 actually. Yeah. So this is the last one for this one today. So home workouts are rubbish. Now, if you followed me on social media, you would have hopefully seen the live video I did yesterday, which talked about the fact that actually your home workouts are not rubbish and they're actually accomplishing something. But the mentality is that, like I talked about before, you haven't got as much equipment as your normal gym. There's not enough weight for your normal workout. You've got no gym buddy to have a little bit of a banter with. There's no social aspect because you're training at home on your own because of lockdown. And you probably feel as though you're wasting your time. And why should I do some banded stuff? What's that going to accomplish? So how much muscle is that going to build? Might as well just not even do it. And you probably feel as though you're losing muscle daily because you're shrinking a little bit. Search, like t-shirts aren't feeling as tight, whatever. And you might feel as though you're getting fat. Look in the mirror because we always ask our worst self-critic. So all these things are adding up. You think, oh, why do I need to train at home? It's rubbish anyway. I might as well just not train. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to take our gym home with us in that situation. So tip number 7, the last one for today, is don't try and take the gym home with you. What's happening is you're trying to live a past life. You're trying to live a life before where you had all this stuff available, and you're trying to recreate it in your home environment, which is just not going to happen. You're not going to recreate a commercial gym in your home, no matter how hard you try. And you'll always be disappointed with what you're getting. So even though you might have a decent, bicep curl or whatever, it's, that was good, but it just wasn't the same as having my gym workout. And that's what you always compare it to. You always compare it to your previous workouts you've done in the gym. And obviously as well, gym's about the social aspects of it. So you're never going to recreate the social bands or whatever else you get in the gym when you're at home on lockdown, because that's just not going to happen. It's all part of the experience, the gym experience. It's why people like celebrities with like mega money go to gyms, because they like the social aspects of it. They like meeting people and talking to people. And some of them might go, oh no, don't take a photograph of me when I'm training in the gym, or don't talk to me when I'm training in the gym. The reason they're going to the gym is because they like the social aspects of it. And provided you don't disturb them while they're actually training, because I wouldn't like that. Most of these celebrities actually like meeting their fans in a non specific environment where people go, oh, hello, Mr. Schwarzenegger, do you mind if I have a photograph? And loads of people have seen Arnold training in Gold's Gym, which was his Mecca. He's got enough money to have his own gym workout, but he still goes to the Mecca because it's this social aspect of it. So what we want to do is we want to think about the different challenges we can give ourselves. And Another interesting thing is that I did quite a study which was John Trommelin highlighted in Nutrition Tactics, which is worth following on Instagram. And this was a study where they did they trained people really hard for a certain amount of weeks, and then what they did, they give them a detraining or deloading period. And what that means is that they reduced their training volume down massively. So they had these two groups, they trained really hard, and then one group, they stopped them training altogether, and the other group, they just trained them with 1/19 of their training volume. So that's not a lot, that's incredibly low. And they trained them on their quadriceps. There's only a leg exercise they did. But what was interesting is that obviously the people who didn't train at all, they lost some of their gains, obviously, because they're not training. But the people who trained at 1/19 of their previous volume, they maintain their muscle mass, their muscle fiber size, I should say. So what this means is that your home workouts can be productive in terms of maintaining your muscle mass. Now, you're not going to make some crazy gains when you're at home. I suppose everyone's not stupid. They understand they're not going to be gaining lot amount of muscle or even any muscle when they're training at home. But the important thing to remember is we want to be maintaining our muscle mass while we're at home. And that's the importance of the home workouts, is to provide some resistance to the muscles, which is not normal. So walking around just normally, that's your normal resistance. The body's not going to grow from that. If you walk around with a heavy backpack on and you're conditioning your muscles to having heavier loads, if you're doing any sort of like squats with any sort of weight in your hand, if you're doing any sort of like lifting above your head, which is more than what you would normally lift with your arms, then that's going to be providing resistance to the muscles, and you're going to be maintaining your muscle mass doing that. Yeah, you're not going to grow, but you are going to maintain the muscle mass. So you can think about different challenges to do. Any resistance training will help preserve muscle tissue to a certain extent. And there's more about this in my webinar that I did called Maximizing Your Home Workouts. That's available on my website, bknutrition/home-workouts. Just go in there, and the last week's hour-long webinar is on there. We'll go into this in more detail. So don't try and take the gym home with you. That's really, really important. Okay, so coming up to the hour. So this is the end of part one. So obviously I said at the beginning, although there's 21 tips, I've split them into 3 lots of 7. So there's actionable stuff for you to take away. So this is not for you to just watch and go, oh, that was good, and on to the next thing. There's actual stuff I want you to do and go away with. So I'm just going to just 2 seconds, just come on to here. Okay. So if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat now, because I'm going to come to Q&As in a minute. So I want to have some questions there. So just open the Zoom thing, press something that said chat, and you can put in any questions you want to ask there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you homework to take away, and I want you to do these things before you come back for next week's webinar, which is the next 7 things. So what this will do is help you start to build habits and build routines that you can do by yourself at home to start making you a stronger person, to start maintaining your body when you're maintaining your mind when you're in lockdown. So the first thing I want you to do, I want you to allocate yourself locations for your activities. So I want you to get yourself, if you're working from home, a desk or something. Now this doesn't have to be a desk that's permanent. You can have like a table that you just set up and sit at, which is your working from home desk, and you put it down afterwards. I want you to set a location for where you snack. I want to set a location for where you eat your normal meals, and set a location where you're going to relax and watch TV. Okay, so you've got predefined locations. You're going to do things. We're going to start anchoring ourselves out to different locations. Okay, I want set yourself 25-minute focus sessions for work, household chores, and workouts. Okay, so however you want to do it, maybe timetable or on a whiteboard or whatever, 25-minute sessions where you're going to do work at this session, then you're going to have a 15-minute break, and then you're going to do maybe 25 minutes of housework, 15-minute break, 25 minutes of your workout, whatever. And then if you want to go to that nth degree of organization, put that into a daily calendar. Make sure you've obviously got time with your kids and whatever else, but set up these time periods where you're going to work really hard on something for 25 minutes and get something done. I want you to look at recipes so you can bulk prep easily. So there are, like I said before, there's some on my Instagram which you can download. They're just basic stuff, all the ingredients from Asda, just buy them, chuck them into a pan, cook them. Yeah, it's not, Gordon Ramsay type stuff, but it's stuff that will make you food very quickly, which you can then enjoy and don't have to think about. I want you to look at reorganizing your kitchen and maximize good eating behavior. So if you saw at the beginning, I have just my fruit bowl out on display. That's the only food I have out on display in my kitchen is the fruit bowl. Have a think about when you walk into your kitchen, if you were an intruder, if you're a burglar, could you find snacking treats within 10 seconds? And if you can, that means you can find them within 3 seconds. So anything that you can find within 10 seconds in your house, I want you to make that more like 20 seconds. So you have to actually make an effort to go and get it. And that will push you more towards the friction for the bad habits. And if you put something like low calorie, it doesn't have to be fruit. It can be things like Snacker Jacks or Vita, that sort of stuff can be set out. So if you've got a snacking craving, you can pick something up quickly, which is low calorie. So look at your kitchen and reorganize your kitchen towards good eating behavior. Okay, so that's the homework. That's 4 things I'd like you to do before next week's webinar, or if you're watching this back on a replay, 4 things I want you to do before you watch the next webinar. There's no point watching all 3 at once and then thinking, oh, that was good, because you'll forget what you have to do. This is homework I want you to go away and do before you do the next webinar. Okay, so just quickly before we get on to the questions, just something how I could help you a bit more. I do have something called the Lean Body Eating Plan, which is a service I provide, which is basically a done-for-you diet. So if you're not sure how to work out your calories, not sure how to structure your eating around the day, not sure how to allocate meals out, snacks out during the day, don't worry about it. I do it all for you in the Lean Body Eating Plan. It's very quick to set up. You just fill in a quick form, obviously pay your money, and then about 24 hours later, you would get the diet back, because I have to calculate it and work it out myself. None of it's automated. And you'll basically get an eating plan, all the foods in correct amounts that you have to eat. There's snacks on there like chocolate, red wine, that sort of thing. So it's not a Spartan diet. It shows you how to plan ahead for the weekend, so you can eat more on the weekend and eat less on days in the week, that sort of thing. So there's loads of stuff in there, techniques I use for my clients, and basically it's just your diet done for you. Very easy to follow. I used it on my Target Lean program, and the other option is on my Target Gain program, and everybody on those programs get results. So at the moment it's only £47, normally £97 for that. So I'm not going to hard sell. If you want a diet done for you, so you know exactly how much to eat, how many calories, how many macros, I can't put the link there, but the link is in the slide, bknutrition.com, and there's a little thing you can say to get your Lean Body Eating Plan now. So if you could do that, if that's something you want, that's great. I'm not going to push it on you. So any questions? So